We got we got this one buddy who lives in Rhode Island, and we don't get to see him too often. But I'm pretty sure he runs that page like emo repost on TikTok. I don't know if you ever saw that.
I don't think I've seen that one yet.
You'll probably see it at some point. Really cool guy, and he he'll find and he doesn't do it in like a weird way. Like he does it in like a just like a homie kind of way. Like he'll find like a obscure like live video of us somewhere and learn the words to the unreleased stuff, and we'll play a show in the area, and he'll be like screaming lyrics back at us that songs we don't have out, and I like get all confused and I can't process it in time. I'm like, what the hell? Like, how are you doing this?
Jeez.
It's talking great though.
Do you guys have any questions before we get started?
Uh,
Mm,
no, I'm good. I just am grateful to be here.
Oh yeah.
what's the
Uh,
profanity policy?
That's a good one.
yeah, you're good. You're good there.
Hey.
I got a potty mouth.
Uh, my only question for the two of you before we get started is: do you have an unopened beverage that you would like to participate in the opening crack with?
I got one right here.
Hell
Do,
yeah,
do,
got
do.
mine right here. We'll see how this goes. This is also like my first like infused drink that I've had, and I'm gonna do it during this, so
Oh,
should
let's
be pretty
go.
solid.
Of
That's what I'm
course.
talking about.
We can't get away from the weed mouth thing.
All right, in three, two, one. Welcome to the Beers with Bands podcast with your host, Michael Torres. What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Beers with Bands. This week, I'm sitting down with MooseCreek Park. How are you guys doing?
What up?
Phenomenal. What's going
Hell
on?
yeah, dude! Dude, like I said earlier, it's Saturday. It's chill. I'm sitting down talking with y'all, so it's gonna be a good time.
Truly.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, thanks for having us on, man.
Dude, of course. Like, if people aren't aware, like I said, you guys are Moose Creek Park, emo from Long Island, uh, also signed to Thumbs Up Records. This is crossing another Thumbs Up band off the hit list.
Yeah.
Um, but this is one I'm very stoked on. Before we get too far, can you kind of go around and say who you are and what you do in Moose Creek Park?
Um, well, I'm Vinny. I play guitar and I sing. I like try to write the songs, with the help of my fantastic bandmates.
Yeah, I'm Ryan, and I also play guitar and sometimes sing, and I also try to write songs with my fantastic bandmates.
That's so sweet, Ryan.
And then I know we are missing one member. Who are they and what do they do in Moose Creek Park?
That's our boy Jared. He plays drums. Um, yeah, and smokes lots of weed. That's kind of his role.
And write
Well,
songs with his
Yeah,
fantastic
that's it. That
bandmates.
part. Yeah, forgot about that. Forgot we don't just smoke weed.
well, like I normally say, for the members that aren't here, this is where we kind of pour one out in their honor. By pour one out, I just mean we have a drink in their honor. Uh,
Ah,
so this one's to Jared.
yo, Jared.
Sir,
Uh, but for people that are just now getting into Moose Creek Park, I know we're going to be talking about the new EP here in a little bit, but I kind of want to give a little bit backstory. Obviously, started in 2021. First EP, Grumman, came out in 2022, followed by your debut LP, Hope This Clears Things Up, which is a phenomenal album. That if people haven't checked it out yet, please go do so. I know that there's still vinyl up on Thumbs Up Records website, which we'll talk links later in the episode, but it's definitely go listen to those. It's a great entryway into Moose Creek Park and what you three can do. I know it was originally a few more members, and now it's kind of down to the core three. Um, but everything that's out there has been phenomenal to listen to.
thank you so much.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thanks. I don't. I feel like looking at our discography, like you can see like a very big difference, or I guess growth from record to record. Like you listen to Grumman, I guess I don't know. Part of me wants to call it a demo because we just tracked it in like our friend's basement. It wasn't even mastered. I mean, barely mixed, you know. But we put it out because we were like super hungry, I guess, and excited. And then Gary hit us up and was like, "Hey, man, you want to take it to the next level? Let's do a record." So we did it with him, and it was very big difference between like "Hope This Clears Things Up" and "Grumman." Um, I don't know. I'm super proud of that. I think.
I mean, at the end of the day, as someone that's like a fan of a band, you kind of want and really love to see that transition between records of just like, oh, they put out this record that I thought was the best thing that they could ever put out, and they've surprised me and turned it up 10 notches, and now that we have this record, and it's cool just to see like how you keep one upping yourself from record to record. Because even going into this new record, it's even you can kind of tell a little bit of a difference coming off of "Hope This Clears Things Up" into this, in like the best ways possible. Whenever that happens, obviously, but like it's really cool to see that progression and growth every time.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of it was because of Gary from Sound Acres. Like, I mean, obviously we grew as musicians ourselves, but every time I wound up going to Sound Acres, I left like knowing or learning a lot more, I guess, about how to write a song or like how to work with my band or stuff like that. Because this was all pretty new to me when we started the band, and we're all just trying to figure it out and have fun. So I definitely feel like this next record, we took everything we learned from recording "Hope This Clears Things Up" and kind of applied it to the songwriting and recording process of this next record. And it's to me, I think it's very obvious that that's applied, but without like knowing the story behind it, you can't really, you can't really tell.
Yeah. Uh, One other cool thing that I think kind of helps with like the evolution of bands, especially right now, is we have this DIY community on Twitter, that everyone's kind of interconnected. Obviously, you see the lineups from Coachella, PUG Fest, and everyone's just homies with homies with homies. Do you feel like seeing your friends put out good stuff encourages you to try and one up them in like that fun competitiveness as well?
Um, I feel like I don't know. So the scene that we're coming from is a very competitive scene. Like Long Island, it has a very like extensive history for music. So where we're coming from is already very competitive. And the Midwest seems a little bit different. It seems like everyone's much more supportive. Like the idea of community is there. So when my friends put music out, it's not I almost don't really feel like it's a competition. I definitely do feel inspired. Like I look up to all of my friends that are putting out amazing music. Like Red Sun, they just put out some awesome stuff, and the Garden Home LP, the new M-Way stuff is incredible too. Like seeing all these crazy drops like really makes me want to pick my guitar up and keep seeing what I can put out. So I wouldn't say it like lights a fire in a competitive way, but more in like kind of my friends inspire me, I guess. I don't know. I just don't feel a need to compete with any of them. At the end of the day, we're all chasing the same thing, and we're all working together and having a good time. So um, I do think it's more of an inspiration than like a competition, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, which go ahead, Ryan.
Oh no, I was just like, yeah, I mean, it's definitely not like there's so many bands that have just released so much amazing music, and it's any like greatness that they get, like they 100% deserve. But definitely like hearing a lot of the stuff that comes out, it just and we were kind of speaking about it a little bit before the podcast with the sitting on stuff for a while. It just makes us want to be like you hear some of the stuff that comes out and you're just like, all right, gotta level this up. It's just because every day, I mean, it just every drop gets better and better and better from everybody. It's just like really cool to see like how like everything evolves, even from like 2 years ago, where kind of the niche was 2 years ago and now where it's at. It's just, I don't know. Yeah. We're very grateful to be like even considered in a conversation with so many of the bands that are
Yeah,
coming up right now.
that part.
And I mean, so far 2024 has been nothing but solid bangers. Like you mentioned, Red Sun, Amway, Garden Home, also the Riley came out with
Oh
theirs.
fuck! Can't believe
I
I
think
forgot that.
95 Corolla dropped theirs. There, I know I'm missing like a bunch, but it's been so solid. Just the like the amount of stuff that has come out, what seems like almost weekly, even though it's probably like a little bit more spread out than that. But like it's been a solid 2024, and I know we're already end of April, early May recording this, but like it's just crazy to see or to think that we still have another like 8 months of the year, and what else could still be coming down the pipeline.
Yeah, yeah, that's very. I mean, I know like I don't know how much I can say, but I know Thumbs Up's got a lot of plans to put out some like really cool stuff this year. So at least from Thumbs Up, like I know you can expect like that continued almost weekly feeling of like, oh my God, this is fucking amazing. More new music. And it's only been a week and a half, you know? I think Thumbs Up is definitely going to continue that. I'm not really keeping up with too much of what's going on with the other labels, but I can definitely speak for Thumbs Up and say like, yeah, there's a lot of really cool stuff coming, not just from like us, but every other band on the label is working on stuff right now. Even bands that you haven't really heard from in like the last year, maybe played one or two shows in the last year, but they're getting ready to put out some stuff, and it's exciting, you know.
Yeah, dude, I got giddy this morning. Enswell made like a tweet saying like they got their masters back, and I'm like that's one that everyone's been kind of waiting for. You know, they put out the one single. They kind of were quiet. I know a lot of those members are all in other bands, so it makes sense. But like I know them, Tiny Voices, they got some stuff cooking, and like I said, I think just the other day, time's relative. But like this is the year of the thumb for sure.
Yo, true. Year of the Thumb. Oh, damn. I'm gonna steal that.
Hell yeah.
Year of the Thumb. That's fire.
But kind of hopping back into things, obviously, like I said, Hope This Clears Things Up came out in 2023. Go listen to that. But now, we're kind of diving into the new EP, which, looking at my notes right now, I forgot to ask for it before the episode started, but I don't actually know the title of this EP. What
Oh,
is the title?
this one's gonna be called Copy Paste. Just
Copy
copy,
paste.
comma, paste. Period.
Okay. uh, I want to give you guys a big thank you for sending it to me ahead of time to check out. It is a solid EP. 4 songs. It does a really good job of like getting in, giving you the message, and getting out. But it's also one that like I was waiting for like a back four. Like it was fun to like I'd get to the last song, which is copy paste, and then just restart it, and like I was ready to go down that rabbit hole again and again and again.
That's I don't know. I'm glad. I was a little nervous about this set of songs just because Moose Creek has kind of been branded as like one of the twinkly bands in DIY emo. And like, don't get me wrong, like I love the twinkly riffs. That stuff's super fun, and I will never like completely stray from it. That's why we've got the one track on there, Sheep. I think it's got like a pretty twinkly breakdown in the middle of it, and then towards the end we've got some twinkles as well. But most of the songs on this record, I feel like we focused a little bit more on the songwriting, and I tried to dial down a little bit on the twinkly stuff and kind of let Ryan take the lead with a lot of like the shoegazy ambient stuff that he I don't know that he's so good at. I don't know how this man crafts these tones, but a lot of this stuff on the record I feel like was very led by Ryan's guitar playing. So I was a little nervous on like getting this out and sharing it with people. I'm glad the people who have heard it so far like kind of agree, I guess, in the fact that it's evolving. And I'm just glad like you like it, honestly. I'm just glad people are okay with it right now because I was a little bit scared. A lot of it is very like much much more leaning towards, I guess, I don't know, like a more of a melodic type emo and less like that tiny moving parts like twinkly mathy emo, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, also like at the time of this recording, only one single is out so far. Turnover is the only song that's out, which is obviously the first track off the EP, for you being a little kind of worried releasing this. How was it for how did you feel about the response after Turnerbook comes out? Because that's really sets the tone for how this EP is going to be.
Um, I feel like it was well received. I think it seems like people like it. Um, I just it's a little bit hard to see like what the future of this like small rollout will be because we put the one song out and then are kind of just staying quiet, not really letting anybody know like what we've got going on behind the scenes. And I feel like that's a big part of getting like your or at least evaluating a response on a song from the community because like yeah the song is cool but like what else is going on around it, I guess, that is kind of getting people talking about it. So because of how quiet we've been, I guess, of our plans moving forward, I feel like the first couple weeks of the song, it was doing good and seems like people are listening to it and enjoying it. But now people are like, all right, like what's next? You know, you can't just put a song and disappear. So I think it did good, but I think it'll start picking up a little bit more once we start, getting some of this other stuff out. Like we've been working on like some animations and live sessions, like stuff like this to kind of get the song in front of people in a like more uh I don't know, less of a art for your ears, I guess, and something to enjoy with your eyes. Might get people listening to it and talking about it a little bit more. That's just my thought. I don't know. Where are you at on that, Ryan?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was really cool to see like a couple people that people kind of there's a few people that kind of came out of the woodwork, I guess, and kind of said like, yeah, this is like the best thing you guys have put out, and that's kind of crazy to me. Um, so yeah, I don't know. I love any and all response. Like I have no expectations of anyone to listen to anything. So anybody saying that they liked it or that you know, they were having a bad day and that was the track they bopped their head to or whatever. You know what I mean? Like I'm happy with that. But I don't know. That being said, I feel like there is something to be said. Like, yeah, we kind of just dropped it and now we're kind of, our fingers on the side of the trigger, so to speak, just waiting to announce the rest of it. And we do have some cool stuff planned for the next few months. So yeah, I don't know. I'm happy. I'm happy.
No, it's always a joy because like I try and stay up to date with the newer stuff every Friday when the curated playlist get updated. Uh, so like I've seen turnover on like one of my new music playlists on there, and then I can't remember who I was listening to, but like it popped up in just like the randomized like radio that started after that EP stopped. It was probably Red Sun. I don't know why I'm saying I don't know who it was. It was probably Red Sun's EP. But it came on through there, and it's always those moments are always nice to see like it like at least getting thrown into my stuff in some form. So I know it's happening to everyone else, and I know they're all in the position like you're saying, like what's coming next? What's coming next? Well, I know we're recording a little early, but this is what's coming next. Is there's a
Yeah.
whole another 3 songs to go with it, and I'm stoked for everyone else to finally listen to the rest of this EP.
Yeah, I can't wait to get this out, man. We've like recorded it so long ago. I think we did it last July and we've just been sitting on it since. And even then Gary was like, dude, these are your best songs. Like these need to go out. But I don't know. I felt like we needed to let hope this clears things up, like kind of marinate a little bit, like let it cook, you know. I got to
Yeah,
see how it does. I don't think it's even been a whole year yet. Um so I felt like too many releases within like 1 year would kind of draw people's attention away from like the first album. And we put so much into that first album. So I don't know. Sucked having to sit on the rollout, but it's finally happening.
yeah. I mean, like I was telling Ryan before we started, like I give every band props for how they have to sit on stuff because obviously, like you said, you put out that full LP, you have to let it marinate, you have to let it reach the people it needs to reach. You can't just, oh, here's the next thing. Like I only sit on stuff for probably month and a half, so like I'm gonna be giddy about this episode until it comes out. But I
Yeah.
can't imagine sitting on something for 6 months to a year and just being like, we have this stuff, like we just like fucking it's coming, but like I can't do anything about it. Like mad props to any band that has to do that.
Yeah, there are some bands I know, like there are a couple, I'm not going to name them, but I'm friends with a couple bands who have been sitting on albums for like a year to 2 years or more than that, and it's just like, oh my, I can't believe you're doing this. And especially hearing some of the songs off the records, I'm like, dude, these are incredible songs. I can't believe you've been sitting on this for 2 years. Like, what the fuck? um I don't know. I feel like even maybe the 8 months or 10 months we waited, I was like biting my nails the whole time. I just am sending the record to everybody. It's not even out. Like, what the fuck am I doing? Everyone knows the album already, so whatever. But yeah, it was hard. It was hard for sure.
Yeah, there's something to be said about the fact too that like, after, I mean, especially like, so many like the bands like I live an hour away from Vinny and Jared, but the amount of time we spend together, whether it's in the car listening to new music, or it's practicing, or it's at shows, we play like a million shows a year. Like it's after like 8 months, um, like obviously it's important when you go and record, and like if you have to sit on something, like make sure it's something you're proud of. Don't half-ass something, and then kind of like if you sit on it for a while, then yeah, you're gonna not like it. But after 8 months, like we're already ready to like just kind of try some new stuff. Um, so it is a little weird. Like there's like this weird like kind of like disconnect going on where it's like our minds are in one place, but the EP is where our minds were 8 months ago. And not to say we don't love it, we're proud of it, but that sitting on stuff does get hard because you're ready to put out the next batch of things, and it's, yeah.
Yeah, like I've talked to some people, and kind of like what you said, Vinny, is like they have they've been sitting on their album for a year, almost 2 years, or depending on, especially like with COVID didn't help for some people. Like they're really banking on stuff from so long ago, that like by the time it's ready to release, like they don't even want to play those songs anymore because they've sat on them or played them so much and like did everything for them. They're just like, I don't even feel this way anymore. Like this album, I'm over it. Like I'm ready. Like we already have enough for like the next two EPs already done, but now we have to go through this whole cycle and do it all over again. It's just like that never ending of just like I'm ready for the next thing.
Yeah, honestly, that's a real problem too, because even like with hope things clears this up, hope this clears things up, whatever, sorry. Even with that album, like we didn't have the whole thing out yet, but we were playing songs from that album like for probably a year before it came out. um and then by the time it came out, like now it's our job to like play these songs and tour and promote them, and I'm like, dude, I'm over these. Like, it's, not that I want anyone else to feel that way, but we've been playing it for like a year and a half or something like that by the time it came out, and we still have to tour the same songs. The set's since changed because now we're playing these songs off the EP, but guarantee you it's going to be the same thing. The EP is going to come out, and then I'm going to be like, well, we've been playing these songs for 2 years. But yeah, that's a real problem, and I like. It's weird. I guess this is the first time we're talking about that kind of burnout on on these songs.
Yeah, we we had like, again, speaking of Gary from Sound Acres, um I forget like what it was that we were like talking about, like a set list. We were like in the studio, like figuring out a set list, and Gary's sitting there mixing on his computer doing his thing. And we're like, yeah, we'll do this song, this song, this song, this song. He like turns around, he's like, you just put out an album, play the songs off the fucking album, and like turns around and keeps typing. And it's like, yeah, that makes sense. That's fair. But yeah, I don't know. Everything Vinny said, yes, indeed.
uh, no, yeah, it's cool to see that insight, from an outside perspective of just like for people that aren't aware, like that's literally the cycle that bands are going through of just like whatever they're putting out right now has been in their back pocket for at least 8 months, that doesn't even include writing and full recording time. So show that it's as a fan perspective, you can love it as much as you want, but it's just crazy to think that like most bands are just like it's great, it's great. Don't get me wrong, it's great, but like new stuff is already coming at some point. Um, but kind of jumping back into the CP, you know, like I said, it starts off with Turnover, which is a great step into the CP, and kind of like I feel like some of the themes that are all in there, and you know, for only being 4 songs, each song packs its own hit in like the best ways. I was trying to think of what would be like my top off of this. Obviously, listen to Turnover a lot. That one kind of finds its way towards the top, but I think either Sheep Taxes or Copy Paste is probably like my contenders for the top on this EP.
I do. And these songs are cool because I feel like we weren't in a rush to get these written. Like with Hope This Clears Things Up, we set a date for recording, and then we were like, "Fuck, we got to have X amount of songs written by then." So, like, we kind of rush wrote a lot of it. And now this one, we have the album out. We finally have real music out. So it's our chance to like really see what we got as far as songwriting goes. And again, that was almost a year ago. So you take what we've learned in the last year and like apply it to what we're working on now. Um, but fuck all that. What I'm trying to say is like the songwriting on this was very different. Nothing was rushed. Every song was written like very spaced out from the next. Hope This Clears Things Up was like we had like 3 songs, 4 songs for the record written in 1 week. Copy Paste was not like that. I think Turnover, like Jared and I came up with the idea. Like we both got really crossed one night at Sound Acres. It's like 3 a.m. and we're like, fuck it, let's jam. And so the riff for Turnover is like the first thing that came out of the amp when we sat down to play. And I was like, well, that could be a song. So like, maybe 4 or 5 months go by and we finally got a song. Kind of similar idea with Sheep, but that one kind of Jared and I were just bored one day and we're like, fuck it, let's make a song. And then it evolved into Sheep. And I don't know, I still have the original demo and it's crazy hearing how different the demo is from like the tracked version. Um, each of these has a story. Like Denver was recycled from the first record. Denver was supposed to be on Hope This Clears Things Up, but at the time it wasn't really written. I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. I guess it wasn't really worked out enough to go on the record. So it just went on the back burner. And I revisited it and I was like, this is kind of a banger, Why did we shelf it? Kind of same. I don't know. It's just this is a really cool record. Copy Paste was just an acoustic song that Gary was like, "All right, bro, this is too long. Fix it," and it was fixed. But none of them were rush written. All of them were like written with intention, which I like a lot, and it makes me a lot more proud of this record. Again, no hate on the debut LP, but there's a different level of the confidence I guess I have going into releasing this. It's also scary, like I explained before, just because of the difference, I guess, in the writing style. But I'm definitely much more confident in these set of songs and how they came out.
Yeah, yeah, I feel like it's really it's interesting for a couple reasons. I mean, like one of my favorite things is just the fact that like when I joined this band, um, more than half of the LP was already recorded. Um, so there were only really 2 or 3 songs on the LP that I kind of had any influence, and some of the songs on the CP were like my first experience for the most part, like actually writing with these guys. Um, and I feel like that was cool, I mean, I feel like you mentioned Sheep, obviously it's not out yet, but I feel like that song is like kind of like a culmination of like everything in the LP and kind of like let it age a little bit, and then kind of throw it out there. I feel like it's a good kind of continuation of some of the stuff that's already out. And at the same time, some of the other songs are a little bit more like Vinny said, kind of like on like the melodic-y kind of you know, less in your face kind of vibe, I guess. But yeah, I don't know. We definitely took a little bit more time um with these songs than some of the stuff on the LP, which I feel like generally you should always do, but it's not always that easy. So yeah.
Dude, I totally forgot that this was our first like record recording with you, because we did do the Soundacre session for Hope This Clears Things Up. But I did forget this was the first time where we went and did a whole record where like you wrote, you helped in the writing with everything or wrote the whole thing. With Hope This Clears Things Up, we went for the second session and I think you did Fish and Pieces. And Dylan was like, there was no other part that was written basically. I
Yeah.
totally forgot, dude. That's another huge reason why this came out so different, is because there's another writer on it.
Yeah. When I first joined the band, it was literally like a Super Mario speed run to just getting ready to play live shows. Because I just wanted to play live shows. And yeah, um yeah, that's it. So it was nice to have some extra time to write with everybody and all that for sure.
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
Yeah, so I mean, if this is what happens with just 4 songs, I'm really stoked to see what like a full second LP would look like with now Ryan in the mix
Yeah.
to flesh it all out.
We talked about like possibly extending this EP and turning it into a full length, but because of the amount of time that's passed since we actually tracked it, kind of looping back to what we were talking about before, like so much has changed now and our writing style continues to change and evolve. And Gary actually was the one who suggested like maybe just make this an EP, because if you come back a year later and extend it to a full length, half the record is going to sound like it was recorded in 2023 and the other half is going to sound like it was done like a year or two later. So it was a good point. Like the difference between Grumman and Hope This Clears Things Up is very noticeable. The difference between Hope This Clears Things Up and the songs on Copy Paste is noticeable. So I guarantee you the difference between Copy Paste and whatever would have been recorded for the second half of it would have been hugely different too. Um, which I am like kind of bummed, because when you listen to these 4 songs, at least for me, I listened through it. I'm like, all right, well, what's next? That was 11 minutes. I
Yeah.
want more. And that's probably my biggest problem with the EP. I wish that we did have time to do a full length, but you know, we'll cook something cool up for the next one. Something cool is gonna come out. We already started working on some new stuff, but none of it's like really ready to share. We got to put out an EP. But I definitely think the next album, like, I'm really excited to finish writing it, and I don't know. I'm just excited for the future. I love music. That's it. That's more of the story.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was gonna say real quick, just this is kind of a sidebar, but speaking about like what Vinny was just saying with the half of something a year ago and then half of something now. I like have such a desire or like such a respect of the fact that like our boys in Inner Love, shout out Inner Love, Long Island goats,
Yo, true.
absolute
Shout out
goats,
Internet.
went up to like some town in upstate New York where they have like one pizza place and a gas station and just went up there, rented out a house, and recorded an album. And I feel like doing something like that, like, is how it should be done. They just captured like their 2 week trip plus all of their songs in one record. I feel like that is like, I feel like if we can't do that, then I feel like we'd be doing like ourselves a disservice. I'm not saying we have to go to the one pizza place gas station town in upstate New York.
Yeah.
But it is super like, and you can tell that when they recorded that like that was what was going on right then and there, and that's just so awesome. So yeah,
Definitely. Shouts out Inner Love.
Yeah. Shout out Inner Love. It's been they've been on the podcast. It's been a long time, but they've been on. They were in the first
That's
years.
neat. I had no
So
idea they've been on here. That's pretty cool.
yeah. But yeah, being able to do something like that is very special if a band's able to do it. I know my friends their band has now been deceased, but they would like go to one of their parents' cabin in like upstate Wisconsin, nothing really nearby it, but like they would just go there and write their records when they were ready to like put everything pen to paper. I think like the biggest thing is, like you said earlier, like you live an hour away from Vinny and Jared, so like getting together, you really have to plan out those times to like work on stuff. If you're able to like kind of go isolate yourself somewhere and just like, okay, we're just here, we're gonna have a good time, but we're gonna try and write these songs and like put something out. Those are the moments you kind of want to be able to have to just seclude yourself and just focus on that and let the real like the outside world just kind of be on the back burner for a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. It's like, and anybody who's like in a band knows, or knows anybody in a band knows, like, in order to make like a lot of the stuff that being in a band entails happen, like you have to work shitty hours sometimes, you have to have weird schedules. So, while there was definitely like a good amount of writing where it was like Vinny and Jared live 5 minutes away from each other, if that. So they should not be able to get together and jam. Um, but we have there's been times and parts where we kind of wrote separately where they would send me something and I would kind of try to, you know, sauce on it a little bit, but 100% like unequivocally the stuff that we decided to keep happened because I was an hour away from home in Riverhead and that's how it is. And yeah, I it's as hard as it is, I don't really love the idea of, I mean, it's better than nothing, but I don't love the idea of like not being there and kind of like bouncing off each other in person because it's a whole different thing. You know what I mean? It's the same thing as like a text message and a phone call. People speak differently, kind of,
Right.
so yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, the writing process, I feel like for a lot of this stuff, with the exception of like some of the newer stuff we've been working on, I feel like the writing process was mostly just like voice memos or like, audio files that went back and forth between Jared and Ryan, um, coming up with different lead ideas or maybe like different vocal melodies or just, exchanging ideas virtually since, we live an hour away from each other, which like in the grand scheme of things, an hour is not like that big of a travel, I guess. But it still obviously puts like a little bit of a roadblock on what we're doing. And some of the newer stuff we've actually gotten together and written everything out in person, which I am much more of a fan of the outcome of that stuff. But as up to this point, everything's been kind of bounced back and forth, or we'll have one session where we all write together for like a month or two, and then get back together again and talk about what could be changed from that last meeting. Um, yeah, I don't know. The writing process is, I guess, weird. I can't imagine how bands do it when they have one member in New York and then like a member in Arizona and a member in like Nebraska. Because I do see plenty of bands like that, like these internet bands that they get together to do like 2 tours during the year and then that's kind of it. And I couldn't imagine. I don't know. I just don't think I'd be able to do that. Just like the hour between me and Ryan is sad. I miss my Pookie Bear.
That's why I moved an hour away is because he calls me Pookie Bear.
Sorry, Sticky.
Uh, no, yeah, no. I'm really everything you're saying. I know you're talking a little bit about future stuff, but I'm really stoked. It just gets me more and more stoked for like the future of MooseCreek Park and everything that's coming. Obviously, we're all gonna jam copy paste as many times as we humanly can, and we'll just wait patiently for the future stuff. But I'm very stoked on everything you're saying.
Yeah, it's exciting. I don't know. I love making music, and playing guitar.
Yeah.
Uh, you know, before we start to like kind of transition, I have a couple things on my list here that I wanted to make sure I talked about, and it worked out perfectly that you brought up the homies in Inner Love, because recently there was a tweet about the four horsemen of New York emo. It includes Inner Love, Oolong, the Cousins and Carpool, and then MooseCreek Park. you know, especially Long Island emo in general, like you guys in Inner Love, a lot of people when they think of like Long Island, you're thinking of I'm probably gonna butcher this, so don't yell at me too much, but you guys can correct me because Bayside's from Long Island. Uh, I'm pretty sure, and then there's like a few other like more punker or like more metalcore. So when you think of Long Island, you don't fully think of emo, but there's a lot of good stuff coming out of Long Island with you guys, and then just New York in general with like Oolong and Carpool too. Um, do you feel like it's kind of like a little? Because I know we kind of talked about how it's very competitive with like the scene and kind of growing, but do you feel like you're seeing more of this emo kind of revival in this New York scene that you guys have?
I would definitely say so. I think Long Island particularly has been like dominated by like post-hardcore and hardcore, just heavier music for like I don't know. I don't want to say as long as I can remember because there are plenty of super big pop punk bands that have come out of Long Island, but as far as like a local level or a smaller like a buzz band level, I guess, um, it's been dominated by hardcore for as long as I could remember, and it's I guess it's very intimidating for new people getting into the scene because the hardcore scene is very like you got to be at every show, you got to know everybody, you got to buy merch from every band. It's kind of how that scene is, and that's I feel like it's starting. There's starting to be a clear divide too. Like that hardcore scene is very much like based out of the West End of Long Island, and again, like I live in a town on the very east end of the island, so um, I don't know. It makes it hard accessing that scene, and I guess now this like emo revival that's happening is kind of more on the east end, I'd say, of Long Island. I mean, with the exception of Inner Love, because they're from that west end of Long Island that I'm talking about. But it seems like more recently, there's been a lot of bands like popping up on the east end, and a new like emo community kind of starting to grow on this east end of Long Island, which is super cool. And this is very much more on like a local, like smaller level, not really on like a touring scale, but just as far as like a local community and local scene, this East End is really starting to grow something cool and special. I think in the last year we had like our first house venue on the East End pop up, which is really cool because Long Island's not like that. Long Island's filled with like we got wineries and stuff like that, so it's a bunch of uppity rich people, and rich people do not like house shows. Not a fan of that. Um, so we had our first house venue pop up. It's called the Cave. Shout out the Cave. And really, like what's been going on there is super important to the Long Island scene because a lot of the people that attend this house venue are like still in high school or going into college and starting to experience like this idea of a local community. And I see a lot of these kids starting bands and talking about opening like other DIY spots, and it's really cool to see because for the longest time, like I said, it was just dominated by these older hardcore veterans. And now that this new age of, I guess, younger emo kids are starting to take over the East End a little bit, it's very interesting and really cool to see. I could yap about it forever, man. I just am very very proud of like what's happening on the East End because it's really hard starting up your own community and your own scene and getting people to come out to these shows in areas that shows don't typically happen. Um, and it's really cool. It's I guess I'm finally like finding a sense of pride in like being a band from Long Island because for a long time, like I said, it was just hardcore. And being an emo band from Long Island's like, all right, bro, like so good for you. We want Beatdown, and now this community's growing a little bit, but definitely something to be proud of, I'd say.
Yeah, yeah, it was I've said this to like so many people. This is like my I forget what people say on TikTok. Like this is my Roman Empire or whatever it is. But yeah, like when you take like if you think of Long Island compared to a lot of places kind of in the country, like one of the things I realize is just like for 99.99999% of people, like a house venue on the island is like damn near impossible. The houses are just way too expensive. People do not make enough money to live like unless you're again like if you're if you're in your 50s with a government job and a pension, you're not opening a house venue. So I feel like for a while, like a lot of the problem was just like, and again, if you look at like a lot of like the emo shows that have happened, like, and even going back like 15 years, and you just look at, a lot of these people, like, I don't think it was so much that there was like a lack of people who listened to emo or anything on Long Island, because there's millions of people on Long Island. You know what I mean? Um, and it's big. It's like with no traffic, probably like 2.5 hours across, 3 hours across. But like, there's millions of people, so I feel like so much of it was just like creating a space for it and letting know people there is a space for it. And there's people who do this stuff and go to these shows. And again, so much of that, again, I can't keep Inner Love's name out of my mouth, but John from Inner Love with Golden Hour Booking. I mean, like, quite literally, and again, this could be me being ignorant, but when I was 18, 17, 18, 19, like, there was nothing going on reliably besides Golden Hour Booking as far as emo went.
Yeah.
Um, so much of the credit goes to John, to be honest. And again, it's just, it's the natural progression of things, I guess. But like letting people know that there is like a place for them, is super important. And I feel like as a metropolitan area, we're getting better at that. Um, so yeah, like I said, shout out the Cave, because again, that is extremely hard to do, is to run a house venue on Long Island. We don't really have any besides like Stony Brook. We don't have any um like again, we have Stony Brook, we have LIU Post, but like we don't have any like major colleges that have kind of that culture of like, house shows and stuff like that. So yeah, like I said, it's just if you create a space for people, they will they will come, or they'll be created. One or the other. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Well said. Honestly, like that's a good point too. I don't really think the Cave or a lot of the Long Island emo bands would be where they are without Golden Hour. Because yeah, like when I first started this band, the only reliable collective was Golden Hour. And I think I heard Ryan talk about it on another podcast at some point. But like when I got booked for my first Golden Hour show, I was like, oh my God, this is so big. This is so big. We're going to make it. We're going to succeed. Um, and it's just because that was the only like real scene on Long Island. Other than that, you had like cover bands at bars and, whatever, people having fun, which is awesome. But I love original music and I love emos. Like I just love the emo scene too. And Golden Hour provided that when I guess there wasn't one. Now a couple of years have passed and a bunch of people have picked up their own collectives inspired by John. At one point, I was even booking like through my own collective, which is now inactive, but again, like inspired by John. So yeah, Golden Hour chain of events, I guess. Good point.
Yeah, it's one last little thing, but like just the fact, like, again, we're pretty young. Like, I graduated high school during COVID. I mean, like, so many of the venues, like we had a place called Revolution that shut down during COVID. Um, COVID was a really rough time because on top of all the other like financial issues that I was talking about on Long Island for people who want to do DIY stuff, there was COVID, which just made everything 10 times worse. You know what I mean? So it really does take a real champ in John to just keep kind of shoving that down people's throats. Like, this is where this stuff happens, and I'm gonna keep making it happen. And it's just like, again, like I said this on another podcast, like the Massapequa VFW. It's a it's a fucking room. It's just a big room. And John brings monitors and he sets it up for bands and created something seriously, seriously special. Um, and it takes a lot. So I don't even know if John will hear this, but like, seriously, so much credit to him. Like, yeah, I'll shut up.
No, you're right, dude. He's hugely important to the scene here, man. Shouts out John Arkin D's nuts. Arkin. Shouts out John from Inner Love.
Yeah, I've been friends with John on Facebook for pretty much since we did that episode. So it's really sick to see like every time he has a show, I see the flyers going and just the work that he's doing. It's seen not just in the Long Island scene, but it's been I'm seeing it halfway across the country, and dude's putting in work. So much love to him. Um, what we're gonna do is we're gonna start to transition towards the later half of this episode. But before we do that, I want to make sure I didn't miss anything with copy paste that you want the people to know about, or about MooseCreek Park in general. So, is there anything that we should know between the EP or the band that we might not have covered?
Um, I don't know. Not anything I could think of. What about you, Ryan?
I mean, I feel like we cover most of it. Yeah, just the EP's not all. We have more cool stuff coming. If uh you know, Moose Creek Park is for the people.
True.
Get to a show. Doesn't have to be our show. Just get to a show. Um, yeah, I don't know. I just hope people just yeah,
Yeah.
smile. That's what matters. I don't know.
I do want to talk about two shows leading that'll be out after this episode and going on after this episode. Obviously, you guys are playing PUG Fest this year. Congratulations! That whole lineup is amazingly stacked, and everyone that's able to go, please make your way to PUG Fest. It is another one that I'm going to have FOMO on this year because I'm not going to make it out for it. But it's super stacked. But leading up to, I think it's the day before you guys play PUG Fest. You guys are also playing a Summit Shack show in Ohio with another stacked bill of people that are going to be playing PUG Fest, but it's going to be a little bit more intimate. I thought it was really funny. Moose Creek Park, MCP, Michael Sarah Palin. People are talking about how it's going to be the battle of MCP and what's going to happen there. So make sure you get to that show and check that out as well. It's two super stacked lineups. Make sure you hit it both. But do you have any other like shows, out of state shows, or even in state shows or tours planned for this year to kind of run with this EP?
Yeah. Well, we're putting the record out, and all of us love touring. I don't think any of us like enjoy being on Long Island. So I personally try to book us as many tours as I can because I love touring and I love playing music and making friends. But whatever, that wasn't the question. Yeah, we're doing some shows. We got Pug Fest and we got that other show. Both of those are a part of a tour that we're getting ready to announce for this summer. It's not this one's not going to be super long. We're calling it Pug Quest because it's the
Nice.
quest of Pug. But yeah, we're not doing anything crazy. I think that one's like maybe 11 dates or 12 dates. And then during the summer we're kind of lying low a little bit. Not anything crazy booked. We got like the EP release show booked, which is at the VFW Hall with Inner Love. It should be super sick. Then other than that, July, June, and August, I guess, are all kind of slow for us. And we're picking up again later this year with another longer tour. I think that one's like pushing 25 days. It might be under that. That one's a little longer. But yeah, definitely expect a bunch of tours, bunch of shows. We love doing all that shenanigans. So definitely expect plenty of that uh, for this record. I don't know if there will be like a release tour. We talked about maybe doing something like that, but I don't know. I feel like that's more like an LP type thing. Maybe for an EP, maybe not. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
we
sorry. Go ahead.
oh,
Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry. No,
No,
I was
you're
gonna
fine.
say, I was gonna say the yeah, shout out Michael Sarah Palin. I would love to set up a boxing ring and go at it with them instead of a battle set. We don't want to do a set with them. They're too good. Um, but like sidebar, like the MCP thing is funny. It's very funny, and it is. I guess it's no credit to us besides coming up with a band name that also had the abbreviation MCP. But even like being on a bill with them and some of the other bands on that bill, like when we played Coachella last year, like Michael Sarapalin was a band that I like. That was like no joke, probably like the first DIY kind of emo band that I really got into. And just like even just being muttered in the same sentence as them, even if it's in like in an ironic abbreviation kind of way, that that's that's more than I ever expected at any point in my life ever. So very
Yeah,
cool, very excited. And shout out Connor from Summer Shack. Um, yeah, just we're super lucky. Pug Fest is gonna be awesome. Where everything, yeah, this is all beyond. Yeah, this is all beyond me. I don't know how we got here, but yeah, super excited. And yeah, we do have sauce cooked up for the rest of the year. And we also tend to sauce a bit like I feel like we've never been like super clear. I mean, with Vinny and Nicole, I could prove that we cannot make plans very well but when it comes to certain things, but we tend to, we tend to kind of do things a little bit on the fly. So,
definitely.
there's going to be opportunities hopefully in most of the in at least 20 to 25 of the US states there should be some Moose Creek shenanigans going on, hopefully.
That's true. That's true.
Big if
Oh
true.
yeah. Like I mentioned, we'll talk links a little bit, but everyone stay tuned for those tour dates to drop. Um, but now we're going to start to transition to the later half of this episode. Before we get there, this is obviously Beers with Bands. You don't have to be drinking on these episodes because I would definitely do that for you, but I know you have some beverages in front of you on this fine Saturday. What are y'all drinking today?
Oh, nothing yummy. I don't really drink. I got that White Claw.
Nice.
This is my part of the episode. So I got a Montauk Cold Day IPA. Um, it's really good. I could talk about alcohol for, and I don't mean that in like a bad way. Like I'm not like I'm pretty good with my drinking, but I love this stuff as far as like actually enjoying it. This is really good. I don't know if this could be like a completely like this is a New York like Montauk's on Long Island. Uh, it's really good. It's a 6.7% IPA. Not really a huge IPA person, but it's very good. That's I don't know if you could I don't know where you can get them. I don't know like what the status is elsewhere that isn't Long Island, but it's very good. Solid.
Oh, yeah.
It's
Sick.
my go-to. Cold day.
For me, like I mentioned at the beginning, I do have this THC infused drink. It's called an Ecto Chill. Uh,
Yo, that's tough.
yeah, from a local brewery here in the Twin Cities. I finished it. It's only 5 milligrams of THC and I guess 10 milligrams of CBD, so I feel pretty much okay. Uh, we'll see what happens when I stand up because I haven't stood up since I finished it. So, but so far so good. It was nice. It was smooth, kind of almost tasted like a version of Sunny D. So not too bad.
Yummy. I don't know.
Very cool.
Those seltzers are. I don't know. I've gotten a couple from the dispensary, and maybe it's just because I smoke too much. But the seltzers never did it for me. Just edibles in general never really did it for me. I just gotta smoke. Gotta smoke. I'm a smoker.
With MooseCreek Park being associated with weed all the time. I think Kerosene Heights has tweeted out saying that they're very stoked to be able to smoke with MooseCreek Park when they get to. Uh, uh,
Hell yeah.
there's a lot of bands that'll do kind of like beer collabs with local breweries and like try and come up with your own beer. But since MooseCreek Park is more known as being the weed band, what would you try and like if you were able to collab with like a dispensary to do a MooseCreek Park lineage, what like kind of nodes or like what strains would you try and like get in there?
I don't know. Growing up, like Girl Scout cookies was always like my favorite. So I'd probably try to do some kind of, I don't know. We've talked about this before too. Like Jared and I, we just sat down for hours and came up with silly names for like weed if we were selling weed or like had our signature weed. Like, I don't know. I just think there's so many funny things you could do with MooseCreek Park. Like MooseCreek Pack. That's like, come on. That's so perfect. I don't know. I that would be so sick, but I just don't know how to do that. It'd be awesome to have our own line of marijuana. That'd be
Right.
amazing. But I don't know how to make that happen. At
Yeah,
least legally.
at least legally, and that is important because we're on a podcast.
Yeah.
That all being said, I'm about to drop a bombshell. I don't smoke weed. Um, and anyone who's ever hung out with us knows that I don't smoke weed. I'm perfectly fine around. This is like off topic as fuck, but like I did on one of our tours, and it did not go well.
Are you
I
talking
went,
about when we were in Springfield?
yeah, I went full recluse. I I was seeing God. It was It was not good. But that being said, if we could get our own strain of weed, there used to be these back in the olden days. I don't know if it's a real strain or not, but there was this wax, and it was called Romulan grapefruit. I don't know
What
if
the
that's a
hell?
real thing, but
That just sounds delicious.
if we could somehow like get some of that with our name on it, I would I'd risk my sanity for some of that. I would really like if we could do that. And again, it's hard because we're not the beer band, so it would be a little tough to get to a brewery and just ask for beer because nobody else would drink it but me. But Romulan grapefruit would be. If we can get some of that, yeah, that's all.
Well, now
Maybe
what
we
needs to happen is like a dispensary needs to get in contact with you guys, and then a brewery needs to also get in contact with it because a grapefruit beer would actually, if done right, I think could also hit pretty well. Like I'd imagine it'd be like a more of a sour, but I think it would still hit.
there's this one brewery. They're unfortunately 3 hours away in Glassboro, New Jersey,
Oh,
called
you're
Axe
talking
and
about
Arrow
acting
Brewing.
out.
If we could get something going with Axe and Arrow Brewing, that would be because they do sours and they do them well. They're the best sours I've ever had in my life. If we can get some of that going, that would be. I feel like that would be huge. They're located right by like Rowan University in Glassboro. If you can get like some grapefruit CBD infused, because I can't freak out, grapefruit flavored IPA, if we can get something like that going, that'd be pretty huge. But
Yeah.
maybe we just have to release more music and get to the point where someone's willing to make two drinks for us and one for each band member.
True.
But one
Well,
day.
That'd be so cool.
yeah, that'd be sick. If it happens, I'm gonna need some cans sent my way to add to
Oh,
the little collection I got going. But
yeah.
hopefully, that'd be sick. But I know you guys have already kind of to dive into like that Springfield story. This is where we kind of talk about some fun stories from your time in music, whether they're shows, tours, time recording. Um, as I normally say, they can be anything horrendous to tremendous, or any adjective in between. Think about like the things you always reminisce about with your friends. Those are usually the best stories that everyone loves to hear.
Uh, I gotta think. I gotta cook a little.
I don't. So
I just smoke too much, bro. I forget everything.
um one of let me I actually maybe I do have to think. Jeez. I mean like one of my favorites was just in like kind of like a wholehearted kind of way. Um Shout out Aren't We Amphibians. Unfortunately, we weren't originally not unfortunately we were but unfortunately they weren't able to make Coachella. They were having some van issues if I recall correctly. And we had a weekender planned. Um and we were in Delaware, which is again, I mean, it's not super far, but it was like 3.5 hours away from home, playing a show, and we get a call from Brady from Thumbs Up Records, and Brady's like, "Do you guys want to hop on Coachella?" And we were like, "Yeah, I guess." Like, I mean, not yeah, I guess. We were like, "Yes, yes, 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 yes." Like, yeah, please, yes. So I mean, we played this show This is like, and I think we must have left the show at like 9 p.m. and had to drive to Bowling Green, Ohio to be there by like 12 the next day,
Yeah,
which
that's fucked.
is like a 10-hour drive minimum, like with no stops, as far as I remember. So we that was the most like just fueled on pure adrenaline, drove like to like 6 in the morning, got a hotel for like maybe an hour and a half to try to get some semblance of preparedness for the next day, and then showed up for Coachella. And that was like our first like that was really our first kind of festival, like meeting so many people that we kind of knew of, like whether it was meeting them on Twitter or we were fans of their music, which was so much of that. Um, and again, like that was just there's like 7 stories like that where we show up unprepared to something because we had to do like some ridiculous like 20-hour drive. Just that we had to drive to Milwaukee straight through a blizzard. Like it's just so much stuff. Like it's just like a 22-hour drive to Milwaukee through a blizzard. It's straight. It was like those are good ones.
Yeah, I think another good memory I have, on our first tour ever. We went on a tour with Trash from Springfield, Missouri, in March of 2023, and that was our first tour ever. It was super fun. First touring experience was amazing. But there's one night in particular I remember. I think we played. I feel like we played in Rhode Island, and then we drove to Central Pennsylvania to a cabin that we were all staying at. We finally got there, probably like 4 in the morning. I'm like, okay. Actually, no. I think we got there, and that night we all went to sleep. Then the next day we all chilled, whatever. I'm trying to go to sleep again the next night, and I went to sleep earlier than everyone else. I think I went to bed at like 1 or 2 in the morning. Um, and at like, I don't know, at like 5 a.m., I hear this like huge crash. I'm like, what the fuck is going on, dude? Like, what is happening? And then I hear the sliding door open, and they come inside, and they're helping the guitarist of Trash put all the silverware away, because everyone was enjoying themselves. And I guess opening the silverware drawer is a little difficult when you've enjoyed yourself to a certain point. And the silverware wound up all over the floor, which is totally cool. But while everyone's coming in and out, I hear like a party, not a party, but a gathering of hooligans on the deck. And they're all like, again, this is like 5 in the morning. They're all like pitch drunk listening to bluegrass music. I'm like, what the fuck is going on, dude? I was just trying to sleep. That whole stay at the cabin was really funny. It was a really good time. I think we spent our off day there. Um, I don't know, that whole cabin, lots of memories there. It was a fun night. But yeah, I think waking up to them listening to bluegrass music on the porch at like 5 a.m., all pitch drunk, was a core memory of that tour for me. It was very funny.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I'm trying to, I mean, there's like there's so many good ones that it's just
I know
like
it's hard because we've done so many tours and played so many shows. And I mean, I think another good one is like the first time we went to record with Ryan, like literally the first day that we were there, like we woke up and Gary's like instigating John to give Ryan a smooch and wake him up by giving him a nice little smoochy poo. Um, so John like does it once, and then Gary's like, "Nah, hold on, I need to record it," and makes John do it again. And the second time, fucking Ryan wakes up while Puccini's about to give him a big wet smooch on the forehead. Uh, that was really funny. I think capturing that moment on video is important too, at least to me. Maybe not to Ryan, but it was important to me.
it was terrifying. Like it's one thing to like have your buddy kiss you on the forehead when you're awake, but if like when you just wake up and you're in that daze and you just feel his hot smelly breath on your face, that is a scary thing to wake up to.
Yeah, that was our
But
first like trip together too. I think. I don't think at that point we'd ever even played a show, or I can't remember.
yeah, no, there's a lot of good ones. It gets to the point where it's like I always like if I'm with my buddies that like live at home, like not a lot, like most of my buddies don't like aren't really involved with like emo music or the scene at all, and are, you know, kind of just doing their thing. So I've told some of these stories like so many times where I just get like, again, I'll have a couple of refreshments and I'll start reminiscing about all the crazy stuff we've done, and it's enough for a lifetime, even though we've only been kind of like at least like playing shows out of state and stuff for, you know, a year, a little over a year. So, you know, it's it's cool. There's the pipe in Springfield. That's a good
Oh
one.
my, how did I forget about that? Oh my fucking God.
Yeah. Long story short, Harrison Gordon, Lego Fortnite aficionado, Harrison
True.
Gordon. Harrison Backshots Gordon, as DIY Twitter calls him.
Yeah.
We we had a show in Springfield, Missouri with Excuse Me, Who Are You, Trash, and Harrison Gordon. And there's a couch set up. It's a house show. There's a couch. It's like -3 degrees out. It's snowing. There's like 100 people stuffed in this basement. There's a couch with a merch table positioned in front of it. Um, Unbeknownst to us, the main water pipe for the entire house was also behind this couch. And me and I think was it Jagger from Harrison Gordon, I think?
Yeah, I think so.
We're sitting on the couch.
I believe so.
And Harrison, awesome guy, built like an offensive lineman. Dude's like he's ready for the NFL. Harrison Gordon takes a seat on the couch and like I'm adjusting myself. We're all moving. I scoot over, like couch is leaning backwards a little bit, plops down, and I guess it wasn't secured very well, and the main water pipe, just like whatever like bracket was on there, just goes pop. And I swear to you, like I feel like this, like the back of my head just gets cold, and I see water and my head is cold, and there was like a National Guard level response of all the bands and like people in the crowd just like getting all the band's gear out of the way because it was all right there, the merch table out of the way. And yeah, that was a great one. Just the show ended up getting shut down. But we got to see Trash play in their hometown. We got to see Harrison Gordon play, so it wasn't all bad. But that was a just like my hair was like frozen in the back because it got sprayed with water, and then we went outside to unload, and my hair physically like it was crazy. But that was like one of the most like panic-inducing moments because like our amps are all on the floor right by the merch table, so it was just like I said, there was like a Avengers level response to this pipe bursting. So it and not for nothing too that tour had I ended up getting like the flu really bad, so we had to cancel 2 days in the beginning. So it was kind of like a there was already like some kind of like rough situation. We had to drive through blizzards. Every date had snow and slush and stuff. So at that point, it was just like this is just somebody's preying on our downfall. It just doesn't want us to get through this. So it was just it was a lot, but it was yeah, that's a good one too. Harrison Gordon's Doki broke the pipe. It probably wasn't. I don't even think it was Harrison Gordon's fault. I think people started assuming it was like people started blaming him, and I was like, yeah, it's probably my fault. I don't even know. But people were like, yeah, it was Harrison Gordon broke the pipe. It was not his fault, but it might have been his fault. I don't know. On the record, who knows whose fault it was? But you know, it was somehow it broke. So
Yeah, that was a funny one, man. That was funny. I just smoke too much at all of these shows and forget what's going on. I don't know. There have definitely been some like memorable moments on the tour too. Like the first time anyone crowd surfed during our set was fucking some Monday night in Chicago, and it was Derek Barry. I don't know. It's small stuff like that. I feel like I remember like all like the accidents, I guess, that happen while we're on the road. Kind of like I forget about them, I guess. I just remember the good parts, which is good because usually it's the other way around, you know?
Yeah, I remember I was talking to someone, and I was like, yeah, like every time I try and think of like my good like tour stories, like there's nothing like everyone all there's you talk to some people and they have like these crazy like horrendous moments that kind of happen, and I was talking to a friend and I'm like, I don't, I try and think about them, but I can't think of any of those. And he was like, if you can't think of any moments that were shitty and horrendous, that just means tour went how it was supposed to, and you had a great time. And I was
Yeah.
like, yeah, it's a good point.
Yeah,
So
we've gotten lucky like on that front for the most part. I mean, like obviously I'm gonna remember like the shitty promoters that stole money from us and stuff like that, but not like horrible like, oh my god, the car fucking exploded, or oh my god, we got robbed, like nothing horrible like that yet. Um but yeah, no, touring has been pretty good. I mean, I think all the stories I have are just like funny, like lighthearted moments or interactions I had with friends or new friends, you know? And I got plenty of those because this community is so different than what we have on the East Coast. It's very like welcoming and inviting and actively looking to grow, which is so cool. And I don't know. I think I just am so enamored by what's going on in the music scene that I start to forget about like the bad stuff that happens while we're on tour, if that makes sense.
yeah, I mean it's nice to see what the community has become. Because I remember when I first joined like this whole DIY Twitter and like interacting with people and like it, I will say it helped grow the podcast immensely meeting all these people, but there would always be like this slight disdain for sometimes for like DIY Twitter of just like how shitty or up its own head ass it could be. But I feel like then to now is completely different in like the best ways. Obviously, you see everyone getting hyped up on whatever everyone is doing. So it's nice to see and just having that other community that's not inside your own physical community. It's kind of nice to have to be like, oh yeah, we're homies with a band from across the country that we fuck with and like share music with and everything. And it's one nice thing. I don't know where this whole ramble's going. That
No, no,
freaking
you're totally right, dude.
I was
Like
there. I was there. But
no,
yeah.
having access to this community is like I feel like completely changed the game for Moose Creek because before like touring or any of that, like or experiencing like the community in the Midwest, we really only had access to like I guess what we could book ourselves, which it still is that way, but now we have like friends, which makes the Midwest a little bit more accessible and easier to get through. I'm eternally grateful for that. Let me tell you, booking is a fucking nightmare. But before then, we only really had access to like Connecticut, Massachusetts, Philly, and New Jersey, and upstate New York, kinda. Um, and like what we were doing, you either had a choice, I guess, to play an empty bar or to play a house show filled with kids that were just there to get plastered. Um, so, like, I guess at the end of the day, you'd have the same outcome. Nobody would leave knowing who your band was. And being connected to what's going on in the Midwest has definitely changed the game entirely because that entire community, like, I just can't. I'll continue to reiterate how amazing it is because it has given us like I guess, a platform to share our music and a community to share our music with, which again, like we have that here. Not like I'm not trying to bash on the East Coast at all. The East Coast is cool and there's plenty of cool stuff happening. It's just for what we're doing, the Midwest is amazing. So being able to connect with these people through a silly little like bird app is like I don't know. I never saw it coming. We didn't even really use Twitter. We weren't active on Twitter until like maybe a month before the album came out. And Brady texted me and they were like, "Yo, you should probably get on Twitter, dog. It will help you a lot." And I was like, "All right, I guess." And I'm like so grateful for that because again, without that community, like I don't even know like where we'd be playing shows or who I'd be sharing our music with or it would just be it'd be a completely different game without DIY Twitter, which is weird to
Yeah.
say because it's just social media, but it has definitely impacted, I guess, like where our community and music scene stands.
Yeah, I was gonna mention too, like not even just for us, but like obviously DIY Twitter and kind of like that whole like the whole scene right now is super like important to like us and other bands and stuff like that. But I feel like even for people that are just like enjoyers of music, like it doesn't have to be our band or whatever, but like I feel like there's something crazy about the fact that like just people who listen to listen to music can kind of be like really kind of connected to like the artists. Um, there's so many people that just make memes and it's great. And they just make memes and it's like and they're friends with the bands and everybody is so cool, like people in bands, people outside of bands, like everyone kind of gets along and I feel like, you know, it's really cool too, like how somebody in some random section of, you know, wherever can kind of really have like a lock and an insight onto like where everything's happening and people can start like scenes can
Yeah.
be made by bands not from that scene if that makes sense, you know? People can find out about a show from a touring band they like and go to a show and wherever they're from and then they kind of get into like the local support and then that local support has a show and then like it keeps like compounding and I feel like yeah, I just feel like not even entirely about the bands but just like everybody can like it's I feel like it's really good for everybody. You know what I mean? Um and again, at the end of the day, I mean, you know, we're doing this because for some reason there's people who like our music. So, you know, um
True.
it's super super important that I feel like people who aren't in bands are also just kind of benefiting from the way DIY Twitter for one is kind of operating. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, perfectly put. Everyone, and like you said, everyone loves Moose Creek Park. I love what's happening right now, and I'm really stoked for the future. As I've said throughout this episode, everyone go listen to Copy Paste, uh, and you know, as before we end this, like if anyone's looking for merch, music, or Moose Creek Park in general, where can they find it?
Um, all right, so on the low, Moose Creek has been like working on a website. Um, so that would just be moosecreekpark.com. But it's not entirely finished yet, so a lot of the merch is not uploaded. Obviously, like all the information on the band is up there and links to media or places to buy vinyl in the UK and in the US, like links to all that's available there too. Um, but hopefully by the time this comes out, this website will be ready to go. I've been sitting on it for a little while, so it's almost done. I guess moosecreekpark.com or yeah, on our all our socials are just Moose Creek Park. I don't know. Not sure how I feel about uploading everything to Bandcamp because Bandcamp steals so much from the artists and it's not really cool. I thought we were trying to avoid that in 2024. So yeah, I guess by the time this comes out, merch and everything will be available on the website, which will be cool.
Oh yeah. Well, everyone, make sure depending where you found this episode, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Threads, or you got to see Ryan and Vinny's lovely faces like I did tonight. Make sure you hit those hyperlinks in YouTube and go follow them on all the socials. Hit up the website. Go get your hands on the vinyl and be ready for upcoming tour dates and go see them at PUG Fest and the show at Summer Shack beforehand. Well, I guess it's Summer Shack Presents. I don't think they do shows at the Summer Shack anymore. That RIP. But just be ready for everything coming next. And I'll catch everyone on the next episode. See ya.
Peace.
Beers with bands.